when you don't have a lot of self-love or self-esteem, you kind of just don't care. You know, you look for quick ways to fix that with, you know, food or alcohol or drugs. And I know that that's what happened to me. I had very little self-esteem, very little self-confidence, if any at all.
Some people want it to happen. Some wish it will happen. Others make it happen. And this is by Michael Jordan. Welcome to another inspiring episode of Podcast with SHEILA. With me today is life transformation coach, Jimmy Roenick. Jimmy has gone from being obese to beast. He is here to share with us his journey of 15 years with all the challenges and benefits that come with it. Before we get right into it, please hit on the subscribe button and the notification bell to receive all the notifications when a new episode is released. Hello, Jimmy, and welcome to Podcast.
Hello. Well, thank you, SHEILA. I'm really grateful to be here.
Wow, it's a delight to have you. Do you have a favorite quote you'd like to share with us today?
I do have a favorite quote, but it's by two people. It's by Mark Twain and it's by myself. I added to Mark Twain. Yeah. There's a quote by Mark Twain I'm sure you're familiar with. The two most important days in a man's life are the day he was born and the day he figures out why. But I think there's a third part to that that's equally as important, and that's the day that man decides to take control of his life.
Great.
So that's my favorite quote.
Great. Tell us a little bit about you, just a little background story before we set the ball rolling.
Sure. Well, I don't want to go into it too deeply, but I came from kind of an unpleasant childhood. I had a father who was an alcoholic, wasn't always the nicest guy. You know, like I say, that's kind of where I want to leave that. But I think like we learn a lot of things in life.
Exactly.
We learn a lot of things intentionally. And unfortunately, we learn a lot of things unintentionally by what we're told as children or what we pick up from, you know, negative sources. And I think just living with a father who was, let's just say, not a very nice guy, I picked up a lot of issues with my self-confidence, my self-esteem, which led me down the road to where I was when I was hospitalized. But, you know, it's a long journey to get there. When you don't have a lot of self-love or self-esteem, you kind of just don't care. You know, you look for quick ways to fix that with, you know, food or alcohol or drugs. And I know that that's what happened to me. I had very little self-esteem, very little self-confidence, if any at all. That's kind of my whole thing with my coaching clients is I can teach them how to change their habits by building more confidence, more self-esteem. It's not really about let's get you to lose weight. It's more about let's teach you how to love yourself, how to build up more confidence.
Yeah. Before we get there, I want to start from the top. So how was your childhood like? If you care to give us a little bit of light on that so that we can follow the story up to where it is now, if you don't mind.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'll give you a little glimpse into it. I had a father who was an alcoholic police officer.
Oh.
It was kind of a bad situation. I was just discussing this with my wife this morning. When you have to tie your emotions and your feelings to somebody else and not knowing how that person's going to be, like I would remember coming home from school and not knowing which dad was going to be there. You know what I mean? Was he going to be the angry, abusive, drunken father, the happy drunk dad that give me $5 out of his wallet, or would I just, you know, end up having a really bad day? You know, so that's a tough way to grow up. I mean, my father did crazy things like argue with my mom and fire guns off in the house in the middle of the night. You know, there was a lot of basically abusive things that happened in my home. So, yeah, I actually thank God for those things, though, because it put me where I am today. Like I understand things a lot better because I dealt with things that people can only, well, I don't think they dream of. I think they would have nightmares about it. But like I've dealt with things that are just crazy. People, especially when you have an abusive parent, a parent is a trusted figure. When you can't trust a parent, it kind of just throws the whole thing out the window.
Exactly. I think that
Yeah.
I think over the month or couple of months, we've talked about this particular issue on this podcast a number of times, where parents have not been there 100% in quotes for their children, and it looks like it's had an adverse effect on the children. And most of the time,
Absolutely.
Most of the time, we as parents, I don't know if we tend to overlook it, or the things we go through ourselves make us overlook it, that the things we do tend to affect our children. And I think we've emphasized it too many times on this podcast, that we have to take a look at it as parents, because it's
Right.
definitely having an adverse effect on the children, which has to actually be looked at. And I hope that this message has been sent down very well. I just pray that it's been sent down very well, because we've mentioned it too many times. And I'm glad we are emphasizing on that today for our listeners to know. Yeah.
I would like to just give an example of something I seen just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I live down in Florida. We have a lot of water, a lot of beach here.
Okay.
And I was walking with my wife around sunset time. We kind of do that. We'll enjoy a sunset from time to time.
Yeah.
And I get a little emotional about this.
Yeah. Oh. You want us
I seen a father playing football with his son.
Oh.
And I said to my wife, I said, you know, that guy probably doesn't realize what he's doing. He's making such an impact.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so important, you know, when we think about the exchanges we have with our children, or even young ones, if they're not our children.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because their minds are like clay. They're so moldable. And you know, when you have somebody that's a bad example,
Yeah.
you're putting an imprint on that mind that's going to last maybe forever.
Exactly. I think, you know, my auntie always says that it's so easy to please children, because it's just the
Right.
little things you do. You don't have to do much. Because I remember one time, my daughter, I think when she was 4 years old, and I asked her, what do you want for a Christmas present? What did she say? Something very flimsy, you know, that you will not expect somebody to say, this is what I want for a birthday and for a Christmas present. I think she had asked for a book or a pen. I can't remember, but I remember it wasn't too expensive.
Yes.
And she had done it too many times. We went to the shop once, and then the lady asked, oh, so Christmas is just around the corner. What do you want for a Christmas present? And she said something very simple. It's very flimsy like that, like a pencil. And the lady at the till said, oh, mom, then you don't have any problem at all, because she's not too expensive. So you realize that the little things is what pleases the children. It doesn't take too much effort if we have to look at it really as parents. So it shouldn't be too difficult for us to do, whether we are having a bad day or not.
And on the other hand, though, on the flip side of that coin is it doesn't take very much to emotionally scar a child either.
Yeah.
You know, parents usually, I've heard parents say, what are you, stupid, or shut up, or you can't do that, or, you know, and those are horrible things to say to your child. You really have to watch the dialogue with the child.
Exactly.
You know, because that makes such an impression. And I think people in general get caught up, parents in general, not like an abusive parent like what I dealt with, but I think parents in general don't take the time because they're so busy living the life. And, you know, sometimes a child tugging on your pant leg is, come on, I'm busy, I'm doing this for work. And you tend to shuck them off. And that's human nature. But you got to remember, those little ones are our future. They're the ones that are, you're responsible for programming that child's mind to make them a successful individual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, these are very important points we've raised over here. And I just pray that anybody who watches this, at least, let's try and get it right. You know, we may have done it for a long time, not knowing it was actually affecting the children. But now that we are raising these up, creating the awareness of it, at least we get to know that the things we do, everything we say in a day, goes to either build the child up or break the child down in a way.
That's exactly.
Yeah, at least we have
And
to.
we're human. We're going to make mistakes, but the thing is to realize the mistakes that we make and try to rectify them the next time around. I mean, nobody's perfect. We can't be perfect.
Yeah.
But if we're just aware, self-awareness of what you're saying or how you're interacting with your children, that can go a long way, SHEILA.
That's
long
true.
way.
So true. So true. Wow. Thank you very much for sharing with us your story from childhood. Let's get right into the story of the day. So how did you become obese?
Well, like I said, not a lot of self-confidence, not a lot of things that made me happy in life. Obviously, I had some issues with depression and things like that. Just kind of gratification in the moment. You felt bad, you ate. You felt excited, you ate. You felt happy, you ate. You just. And I had a grandmother, a great grandmother rather, that would take me to her house from time to time, and her way of like soothing was offering something to eat. Well, then there's another example of how a child can be inadvertently taught the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I would be upset. My grandmother would say, I'll make you some eggs or I'll make you a hamburger, and so that was a soothing thing.
Yeah.
So it kind of taught me from a young age, that's how you soothe yourself. And with the low self-esteem and everything else I had going on, it wasn't hard. I had an enormous appetite, and it mostly was just due to emotional issues.
Yeah. Wow. It says that you were stage 3 morbid obesity? So
Stage 3 morbid obesity. I was hospitalized. If we go back a little bit before I was hospitalized, I have a couple little interesting stories.
Yeah.
So my legs had ballooned up to about 5 times what they should have been over a period of a few weeks. And, as a guy, I was kind of always taught as a child by my grandparents and my uncles, man up, walk it off. So I just thought, like, I would tell myself, I must have got bit by a spider or, something. I have an allergic reaction. But at the same time, I couldn't breathe. I can remember taking my daughter to school every morning, and my daughter would like me to walk her to her classroom. And this was, I don't know, 25, 30 yards, maybe 50. And I would walk her to the classroom. By the time I'd get there, I felt like I was going to pass out. I couldn't breathe. My heart was beating really fast in my chest. And I had this little trick I would use. She would drop her off, give her a hug, kiss, say, I'll see you later. Yeah. And the office was right across the street, or right across the hall, rather, from her classroom. And they had the bulletin board that would show the activities coming up. And I would stand there for probably 5 minutes pretending to read that bulletin board. And then I would struggle my way back to my car. I'd collapse in the seat and I would gasp so I could get enough breath to drive home. This went on for about 3 weeks. And the school had sent a note home. They were taking the kids to the zoo at the Columbus Zoo in Columbus, Ohio. And my daughter's like, Dad, you got to go. You got to go. Well, I was already kind of thinking, how am I going to do that? I can't breathe. I can't walk any distance and I can't breathe. So I decided I was going to try to take some cold medicine and some of the Blue Halls cough drops, the really strong ones. And I had convinced myself if I did this, I'd be able to breathe and walk through the zoo and everything would be fine. Well, we got to the zoo. It was like 87 degrees that day and the humidity was probably 90%. And by the time I got through the gate, I couldn't breathe. My heart was beating so fast in my chest, felt like it was going to pop out. Yeah, we never saw any animals at the zoo that day. I went to the hospital instead. So I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure that was brought on by pulmonary edema, which is my lungs were filling up with fluid. And that's what was happening to my legs. My legs were 5 times their normal size because my heart couldn't circulate anymore, especially down to my lower extremities. So basically, I was drowning in my body. Yeah. It was a pretty scary time. It was,
can imagine.
Pretty rough. Yeah. So they kept me in the hospital for about a week, which was great because I didn't have any health coverage, so, and it also kind of, to me, told me how sick I really was. The doctors actually told me that had I waited, I probably would have died. And they weren't even too sure I wasn't going to die at that point because of the condition I was in. So, that was back then. That was a pretty scary time when they they let me out of the hospital. I was sent home with oxygen. I was supposed to keep on 24/7, heart pills, water retention pills to get water off my body. I lost like 50 pounds in the first 7 days just in water retention because that's how much water I was holding.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a really scary time. That was 15 years ago. I mean, it took me probably about 5 years to come to the point where I realized something had to be seriously done, like rather than just go on a diet or try to listen to the doctor, because I really wasn't doing such a good job at that. Because there's another quote, you'd asked me about quotes in the beginning. Yeah. And this quote I hold true to this day, and I tell all my coaching clients this.
Yeah.
You cannot fix a problem with the same mind that created the problem.
Oh, wow.
That's why Albert Einstein said that. And that's the truth. Like my whole life had been spent creating that 420-pound obese man that was in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to create anything else. I didn't have the tools and the capacity to get the self-confidence and self-trust that I needed to pull myself out of that, until the one day this happened to me. I was on my couch watching television because that's pretty much all I could do. I was on an oxygen tank and I was taking all this medications and truth be told, I could walk a little bit, but it was still really difficult. I was a very large man and I had a lot of issues with my lungs. And I was watching a program. It was like one of the Good Morning America shows, or I don't know, one of the shows that's on in the morning. They all kind of blended together at that point because that was my life, the couch and my oxygen tank.
Yeah. And
I saw this guy, and this guy was really big guy, really talking with his hands and very loud and very animated and very matter of fact. He was saying a lot of things that I think I'd heard before, but never in such a way.
Okay.
And I started to believe everything this guy said. This was like amazing to me. And it turned out it was Tony Robbins. I'm sure you know Tony Robbins, who that is.
Yeah, motivational speaker, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, he's an amazing motivational speaker.
Yeah.
So that day I kind of thought, well, what he said made sense to me. And I really couldn't do a whole lot as far as like diet and exercise because I was still 350 pounds on an oxygen tank. So I started learning things about psychology and NLP, things along that nature. I started reading my Bible more.
Good.
And I started to, as more I educated my mind, the more I started to change. I started to realize how to gain self-confidence and self-esteem. And the more I did that, the more I would get these little wins, I would call them. Like, maybe I wouldn't eat a second helping of food that day, or I wouldn't smoke a cigarette for that hour. Because believe it or not, I was smoking cigarettes in that condition. And every little win I say celebrate. I don't mean like go out and, eat something or something. I would just be like, that felt really good.
Good.
And that was a new feeling to me. So that's kind of the whole basis of my teaching now is we have to celebrate our wins and we have to trust ourselves beyond anything else. And the only way we can do that is to be totally honest with ourselves and make a promise. If I make a promise to myself, I do everything in my power to keep that promise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And by doing that, I become the one person that will never let me down. So I know I can trust myself. So now I have self-confidence, self-esteem. And when you practice that on a daily basis, you can become unstoppable. It's amazing what you can accomplish.
Great. I want us to talk about how you had started exercising and started losing weight. Because you're on the oxygen tank, you couldn't do anything, you couldn't move much. So
no, I couldn't. Well, I started walking with just a little portable oxygen tank.
Okay.
I would walk a couple blocks after I would eat my dinner.
Okay.
And it started very slow.
Very slow.
And, but by everything else I was doing, I was learning that I was being honest with myself. I was being true to myself. So I knew that, yeah, maybe I don't lose a pound this week, but I knew I was going in the right direction to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And so I would just hold on to that. I would hold on to the fact that I knew. Now, if I wasn't being true to myself, if I was saying, yeah, I'm working on it, because I'd had those instances too where I would say, yeah, I'm doing the best I can, and I really knew I wasn't. Then I couldn't expect results, but I got to a point where I had so many little wins that I knew, like, okay, well, I'm doing the right thing. And there was times I wouldn't even step on the scale for months. I just knew I was doing the right thing. And then I'd go to the doctor would be like, wow, you're down 30 pounds, or you're down 40 pounds. And, this was just from doing little changes like exercising and pushing the plate away a little bit more and things along that nature. And again, the more this would happen, the more boys I would get when I go to the doctor and he'd say, yeah, you're doing great. I'd hold that in my mind. That would be like a trophy for me. I'd be like, yeah, and that would feed more self-love, self-respect, self-esteem, and, self-confidence. So it just kind of snowballed, I mean, it went from walking a block or two after dinner to, I mean, I to where I'm at now. We don't want to jump that far ahead, but it went from that to, maybe 6 blocks, 8 blocks, to I did something that most would consider a very foolhardy thing to do. And maybe it was, but I lost the oxygen tank without my doctor's
permission.
Yes. Now, let me say, I don't recommend anybody do that. That's a very foolhardy thing to do.
Yeah.
But the human body is an amazing thing. I mean, God really knew what he was doing when he designed the human body. We can adapt. We can adjust. I mean, yes, it was uncomfortable at first. I'd wheeze a lot. I would have a lot of problems. But I was kind of in a place in my life at that point where it was like, I'm 40 some years old. I'm not going to live on an oxygen tank the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And, but as amazing as the human body is, the human mind is much more amazing than that. I mean, you put your mind to something and you totally commit your mind and your heart to it, you can overcome anything.
That's so true. That's
yeah.
So true. Did you get support from friends and family whilst you're on this journey? Like some encouragement to keep going, you're getting there, things like that.
Maybe some of my family. I was married at the time. I had a wife. I don't want to badmouth anybody because, that's just not a good way to live. But
Definitely.
She said some pretty cruel and horrible things to me. At one point, I'd lost about 45 pounds. And I was looking in the mirror and I was just kind of saying, hey, I'm doing all right. This is good.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel a lot of self-confidence, a lot of self-esteem. She came by and she was really nasty. She says, you've lost just enough weight to be a regular fat guy. I was like, wow, like, how could somebody do that? Why would anybody say that to somebody that's really trying so hard?
Yeah.
But I rolled all that up. You know what I mean? I used that. I call it push motivation when I talk to my clients now, but it's like you push yourself away from the nastiness and the bad comments you've heard. And you say, you know what? I'm never going to hear that again.
Yeah.
And you use that to motivate yourself. I found out though, that's not really good motivation, because when you hold on to something that was negative in your life, eventually it's going to come back and bite you. It's going to cause you anxiety and depression. And so what I like to use is what I call pull motivation, where I look at how great my life has become by what I've done so far.
Yeah.
And I have real things to attach that motivation to now,
Yeah.
My life is so blessed right now. I mean, there's days I wake up, I go, pinch myself. Is this really me?
Wow.
So, but yeah, there was some really nasty comments, and it's funny because it's really hard to, I don't know, it's hard to keep your self-esteem when you're dealing with something just so nasty and awful, and that was a big chunk of my life that I was trying to fight through that. But as you can see, I came out on top. So that's all that matters. That's what I attach it to now, is that,
it's a brilliant thing.
My life is blessed, and I have a beautiful new wife that cherishes me and loves me.
That's good. That's great. That's good news. Because I think that when you're going on a difficult journey like the one you went through, you need all the support you can get. all the support.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you need all the support. So if people can give you that kind of support, then I'd rather say then they should just keep quiet and leave you to do it on your own.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it kind of goes back to the same thing. It's, we hear so much chatter and so much clutter and bad information, and it's hard sometimes to block that out. When you're the only one telling yourself that I'm good enough and I'm going to do it, and I can conquer this, and then you have other people, for whatever reason, they're telling you something different. It causes a conflict, and it causes it to be uncomfortable when you're trying to make a big change like that.
It does.
I think it's really important to surround yourself with people that are positive.
Exactly.
Or as you said, if they can't be positive, it's like they say, if you can't say nothing nice, don't say nothing at all.
Simple. It's as simple as that. Yeah.
Right.
What will it take for someone to focus on changing their quality of life?
Well, there's a lot of things, but the big thing I can say is I have a formula I use. I say, be honest with yourself.
Right.
Look where you're at right now, and don't sugarcoat anything to yourself. Tell yourself, hey, you know what? I need to lose X amount of pounds, or I need to quit smoking, or maybe I just need to be a better person. Be honest with yourself, see where you need to go, and then make little promises or little contracts, I like to call them, with yourself. Like, I'm going to do this today, and I'm going to make, even if it's just a small step, I'm going to make that step. When I get to the finish line of that step, I'm going to relish in that. I'm going to celebrate it. I'm going to savor it because it's a win. And people that can do that, I think pretty soon, if you practice that enough, the negative things, the things that you might have viewed as a failure before, they're going to kind of just dissipate. They're going to go away. Because, I truly believe this now. Now, there was a time in my life I didn't always believe this, but I believe now that we don't have failures. We either win or we learn.
Yeah.
And if you look at a failure, or what you would consider a failure, is a learning experience. I know not to do that next time. Exactly. Then that just puts it in a whole new aspect. And I think that's how in life, if you look at things with a good aspect, you don't have to worry about all the garbage and the negativity that messes your life up.
Exactly. Because we don't get anything from there. It doesn't build us up in any way. So why focus on the negativity and all of that instead of the positive side of things? Great.
Yeah. I don't know if do you know the NLP guy, Richard Bandler, Dr. Richard Bandler? Have you ever heard of him?
No, I've not.
Well, he has a quote where he says, if he came into your home and he painted an ugly picture with ugly words or ugly, something on your wall, what would you do? Of course, you'd paint over it, right? You wouldn't leave it there.
No.
But see, a lot of people, and I think I was very guilty of this, we have those ugly pictures in our mind and we leave them there.
Yeah.
Then we visit them and we I don't know, we just kind of look at them, and it's destructive to us.
It is.
We need to get rid of it, and we need to put positive things, like I said, celebrate the wins, live in a state of gratitude. That's really important.
Yeah.
If you're living in gratitude, you can't see ugly and negativity.
No.
Yeah.
And I think there is something about positive words and a positive attitude. What it does is, I think that the more of the positive things you feed yourself with, the more stronger you become inside. And it quickly fights off the negativity and then the negative bits on the side. So I think we should rather feed ourselves with more positive things, find ourselves in a more positive environment, because when you realize that sometimes you may wake up with a very depressed attitude, or you may wake up not feeling cheerful. Let me rather say that. You may wake up not feeling cheerful, but when you keep thinking of it, today I don't look cheerful, today I'm not myself, you keep saying that to yourself, you realize you get more of that. But when you're not feeling cheerful, and then you say to yourself, I feel good, I feel strong, I feel I'm going to achieve more today. And then that is what happens.
Absolutely. I have a story about that. I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
So when I was still a very heavy man, but I was aiming at where I am now. I could see it. I believed it. I visualized it. I was in that bad marriage. And this is really funny. I was talking to my new wife about this today.
Yeah.
I would wake up in the morning and ex-wife was a very mean-spirited person. She would say mean things all the time.
Yeah.
I went and got a set of Bluetooth headphones.
Yeah.
Now, I need you to picture this. I'm probably 350 pounds.
Mm.
I would wake up in the morning. I would put on my headphones.
Yeah.
I would put on some old 80s dance music.
Okay.
And I would dance in the kitchen to myself.
Yeah.
And it was the most ridiculous thing probably to look at, but just that 10, 20 minutes in the morning, listening to music and just snapping my fingers and doing whatever kind of dance a 350-pound man can do in the morning, it made me feel amazing.
Yeah.
It was like a whole new attitude adjustment. And I highly recommend that to anybody. If you think you're gonna have a bad day, crank up the music and dance first thing in the morning. You'll change your whole vibe.
It works. And I do that every morning. I do that every morning.
Do you really?
I do, because it sets me up for the day, and I found it to work. Because I know that's why I use it in the morning, that when you wake up and you're not feeling good, the positive things. So I try to feed myself with positive things. So I play a lot of gospel music in the morning. So as I'm dressing up, getting ready to take the children to school and all, I'm playing music.
Yeah.
So I just tell Google play that, and Google is playing it. I'm singing along, I'm dancing, and I'm doing all the things that I'm doing, like my day has already
and you're feeling wonderful.
Yeah. So then I see that my day is going just the way it has to go. And then I also see that all the things I lined up for the day, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do that. I'm able to accomplish all of them. And with ease. With ease too. So it really, really works. What you just said really, really, really works.
Yeah, because what you're doing, there's a science behind it. You're changing your physiology. Yeah. Instead of getting up in the morning, you're feeling, oh, I'm feeling miserable, or oh, it's rainy, it's not nice outside. You start snapping your fingers and shaking your booty a little bit. Yeah. You're gonna feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. It does work. It works. It works.
That's my key for the day. Everybody needs to try that tomorrow morning. I want to hear everybody trying that.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you say your biggest achievement of all times is?
My biggest achievement.
Yeah. That's
a very that's a tough question. I would like to give you a very vague answer.
Okay.
And say my life now, because I feel so blessed. You know, I'm closer to God than I've ever been. Yeah. I have a beautiful wife. Like I said, that my relationship with her is amazing. Wow. I'm not what you would call financially wealthy or independent or anything like that, but I'm happy. I live in gratitude every day. You know, I don't let the little things don't stress me out no more, because I've learned how to conquer them. They come at me. Yeah, life comes at you. You know, you're going to get things. You're going to get a big high electric bill one month, or you're going to get something that's, wow, I wasn't expecting that. Dance it off. You know, it's not going to kill you. You're going to be okay. You know, we always are. God always sees us through. So I think living in a state of gratitude is the biggest thing I could say is my biggest accomplishment, because without it, I wouldn't have any of the things I have.
Wow, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I think that the most important thing is to have peace of mind, because you can have everything in the world yet not have peace, and it's like you're not living your life to the fullest.
Right.
So once you have peace of mind, you're able to create every other thing else that you want. And
absolutely, because if you're in conflict with yourself, how are you going to focus on your goals? If you're constantly in conflict, like, you know, I'm not good enough, or, you know, what if this happens, or what if ourselves to death? Exactly. You know, and half the time the what ifs never turn into that happened. You know, they never do. Or half the time, I shouldn't say never, but most of the time, what ifs never turn into look what happened.
Exactly.
So, you know, just living in peace, that's amazing. That's the best thing you could do for yourself. No matter what that looks like for each individual, that's important. Just to be at peace with yourself.
And another thing I also agree with you is the part that you said you've gotten closer to God. And I think that for me, as a personal experience with God, is the more closer you get to God, the more lighter your burden becomes.
Yes.
Because then he takes the burden off you. So things that you may still be experiencing the things you're experiencing, but when you compare it, at the time that you were closer to him, you were feeling the burden more. than now that you're closer to him. So he makes it lighter, and he makes it possible for you to go through easily, and you don't feel it at all. So
right, and that's important. I mean, God even says He didn't put us here to worry. You know, we have trust in Him. If we have trust in Him, we know it's all going to be okay regardless.
Yeah.
And that's something I hold on to very dearly. You know, I know that He's always seen me through in the past, and I know He's always going to see me through.
That's so true. That's so true. If He's done it before, He will do it again. That's so true.
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is the time of truth. So I'll be asking a few questions, and then we get to know you more. What is your favorite tourist site in the world?
The Atlantic Ocean.
What about your favorite time of all day? Is it the morning, afternoon, or evening?
Sunset.
Your favorite movie?
Say Shawshank Redemption.
Your favorite song?
Be happy. You know, I'm so happy.
Oh.
You know that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good song.
Great. Your favorite phrase?
I got this.
I got this. Finish these sentences. I wish
I could give my kids the knowledge they need now instead of waiting until they're older to accept what I say to them.
Good. Nothing in this world can
detour me.
Great. I pray
for my children and my grandchildren.
Good. I will love to
help as many people as I can.
Good. I believe
I can help anybody that comes to me for help.
Wow. You know, just before we wrap up, I want to throw this question in. So I know you're a life transformation coach. What exactly do you do?
So what I do is I take people that have problems similar to mine or just a goal they want to reach.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily aim them at that goal. I help them change themselves so they can reach that goal. By talking to them, like a lot of overweight people have the same issues I had with the self-esteem and the self-confidence. That's my expertise is overweight people. And instead of teaching them a diet plan or telling them, let's go run 10 miles, we work on self-esteem, self-confidence, and the little contracts I talked about and the celebrations of wins, things along that nature. So what I usually ask people to do is when they want to reach out to me, because if I throw a phone number out there, my phone rings constantly, and you get a lot of, you have to vet your calls, I mean, honestly, you'll get people that think they want to lose 5 pounds. So what I ask is people reach me at my website or my Gmail. With a small bio of what their problem is and how I can help them.
Exactly.
And if it's okay with you, I'd like to give that out.
Yeah, sure, you can. Yeah,
you can reach me at Jimmy Roenick. That's Jimmy, JIMMY ROENICK @gmail.com. And it doesn't cost anything to reach out to me. Just send me a bio of, hey, this is what I need to do. Can you help me? I answer everybody that reaches out. So that would be amazing if I could help somebody, in the UK or anybody listening.
Exactly. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, what will your best advice be for people who think all hope is lost?
It's not lost.
It's not lost.
Hope is never lost.
Great.
There's always a step. There's always a step you can make towards hope, no matter how big or small. And the funny thing about taking a step is you take another step and another step, and pretty soon your little steps are giant steps.
Yeah.
So hope is never lost. That's a phrase that I live by.
Exactly.
There's always hope.
Great. It's been a delight having you on Podcast with SHEILA, Jimmy, today.
It's been a delight talking to you, SHEILA. I really appreciate you putting me on.
Thank you very much. If you've been listening in, this is season 2, episode 34 of our podcast series, where we've been bringing your way seasoned guests with inspiring real life stories to share with us. Do not miss out on all these lovely experiences. Subscribe and be notified when a new episode is released. Whilst at it, please drop us a rating. We have a video presentation of this episode on our YouTube channel. Just search for Podcast with SHEILA on YouTube and you'll find us. Until we meet.